Hi everybody, we're making a quick video for a lot of the returning volunteers. Um, as some of you were not available to attend the Saturday orientation, it's actually very important for returning volunteers to get a review on training because returning volunteers are mainly going to be placed in positions of hall runner and floor managers. And because of this, you guys are also the role models that will be leading and also supporting new room monitors and also helping support and train them. So when our old staff is not updated on any new systems, there's a lot of discrepancy and it also confuses a lot of new room monitors. So it's very important that you guys have a good program update on everything. And there's also going to be some slight updates that you guys will need to know about this year's conference, and also a little bit of a structure change in terms of the hall runners and floor plan. So we'll be doing just a really quick review on these areas, general information floor plan, so you guys are well aware, but it's going to be a very dumbed down version of it. This year, again, we will have a very huge China community attending our conference. Last year, we had a lot of complaints about our volunteers being very rude to a lot of the China participants. I hope that this will change, and to remember that the experience of the volunteer experience is for us to practice yoga off the mat and for us to hold space to be and offer love and compassion to others and lead as an example, and for us to also develop self-leadership and not react to situations but respond. So I hope that this year as well we are wearing t-shirts called Good Vibe Tribe, that we can enforce this. And one of the main things, especially on the first 2 days, Thursday and Friday, where we are extremely very busy, that most hall runners and everybody, if you're not on a task of anything and you're walking around, to make sure to always be on a lookout to help any new participants that look like they're looking for a room or they want to know the direction, but to start teaching people where the whole location of everything is. So let's maintain this for this year. Conference facility, nothing has changed. The one new, slightly new thing that we have opened is we will no longer have just a goodies bag table. One of the tables at the front registrations that's run by the volunteers will be called the front desk services. And that specific table is going to be running the lost and found cloak service and the yoga mat rental. As usual, you guys know that that table also has a lot of pickups as well. So that is something new, and we are separating that from the goodies bag table. Floor plan. Floor plan is exactly the same as last year. We will have the ground level mezzanine convention and also the level 2. So again, let's have a review of the ground level. Mainly registration counters, goodies bags, again, will be the same. The new table, as I mentioned, will be the front desk guest services, lost and found, code check, yoga mat rental, guest badge pickups, as well prize redemptions. Prize redemptions, we will have a separate board to manage that, but if there's anybody, we will be doing some social media promotions and lucky draws, and we will be announcing winners, and we will be telling them to go to the front desk to pick up their prize, so we will be managing that. Yoga mat rental, we are promoting more. There are more people requesting for yoga mat rental. Yoga mat rental is available at guest services desk for $100 per day with a $100 deposit. Cash only. It's normally open during registration times, but we open a little bit earlier, or we also open a little bit later, 7 to 8 p.m. daily. The signage and the times will also be listed on the table there. Just a note that we don't have first aid this year, but we will have a table that's by Convention Hall C. We will have further briefing on that because we will be scheduling and advising who will be the first aid experienced staff on every shift. On level 2, what you guys need to know is the faculty room S229 at the very end is for the faculty. So in the case that faculty ask where this room is or if they need a resting place, please advise them that room 229 is. This room is to be exclusive to internal staff only. Of course, it cannot be publicized as it needs to be an exclusive area for the faculty. Press room is also located at the very end beside the faculty room in the smaller room. So in any case, if a faculty gets lost or asks you where the interview or where their press is, you can direct them to the upstairs to the S230 rooms. So the positions for AYC is room monitors, front desk guest services is the new one that we've highlighted in yellow that's open, front desk goodies bag table. So basically, there's going to be a one front desk team. This year, hall runners and floor managers need to work much more closely as a leadership team because hall runners and floor managers are more for experienced and returning staff because you guys are much more knowledgeable. It's important that you guys are more work together more in a leadership team and you guys also guide and lead the room monitors. Hall runners are even though the name is a hall runner, but you guys have a very important position, whereas you guys are almost act as if assistant floor managers. Floor managers, please do not get caught up in room monitor duties or hall runner duties. This year, for the hall runners, as we expect, there's going to be a lot more participants, especially on the first and second day when we have a lot of new participants. Hall runners need to also ask as info points and do a lot of the guidance. We will have separate position for this as the hall runners. Hall runners this year also, you are in charge of guiding and setting up the line for the standby lineups and also the full access lineups. Normally standby badge holders we will place against the wall, so you need to control the logistical flow of the conference. So make sure that security ropes are all set up prior to the conference, and this is all set up and that this is maintained as a consistency throughout in the convention halls and the upper level areas. So hall runners really are there to maintain the logistical flow, guide participants, and of course, right before classes start, you guys are going to be running around through the halls, not really running back and forth to see if there's any room monitors. Be very aware of situations. Last year we had a lot of incidents where there were safety concerns, people got hurt, but if everybody was much more aware, they are able to catch things and safety and take more precautions on safety measures. This year, for the room monitors, I've given them a position to be called room managers, which means they are responsible for everything and anything that happens in the room. We will not let room monitors fall asleep. So hall runners and floor managers specifically, please be aware of the team. Also room monitors, before we let them stand or sit outside of the classroom, we want them to be inside of the classroom because we want them to be aware and observant of everything that's happening in the room at all the times. As like last year, if a room monitor was outside of the room and someone hit their head and got hurt, that could have been prevented if the room monitors were inside the room. So room monitors need to stay inside the room. So hall runners are really there to really check in, go through the area, and floor managers, you're in charge of all positions, all your team, and everything that happens in your area. So if there's a safety concern of some sort, this will come on to the floor managers. So as I outlined here, floor managers and hall runners work much more closely as a team. You guys much really know everybody in their position and make sure everything runs smoothly in your area. Hall runners also help relay messages. Make sure that you guys lead yourself as a great example of what you want your team to be. Hall runners also should not be caught up in room monitor duties unless necessary, unless you know there's a plug-in and help. It's also very important for you to always inform the floor managers where you will be because the floor managers need to know where their hall runners are at all times. If you will be watching this area or if you're going to be sitting in a class, please report to your floor managers because it's important that we know where everybody is. As last year we had a lot of missing positions. Some of the managers were not aware of where people were or what's happening, but it's really important that you guys know what's happening in your areas at all times and that this year taking feedback is critical. We will be having a debrief session daily this year, so it's important for you guys to all stay aware of what's happening. Also last year, there were too many people contacting HKCC at one point. Floor managers are only going to be the one point of contact for HKCC. Floor managers, if you are placed in the convention hall area, you are to work and contact the HKCC info desk in the convention area only. Do not contact the second floor. For the second floor manager, there is the info desk, HKCC info desk that's at the end of the hall that serves the level 2. The level 2 classes, you only communicate with them. If there are any faculty that request any kind of extra setup items or anything, this must go through Irene or I for approval, especially if it's HKCC setup, because we have clear communication and agreement what setups are required. Any kind of additional equipment setup that needs to be added to HKCC is really, really expensive now. So we need to actually approve it and know that it's extremely necessary. And faculty are well communicated on this as well too. Also, please ensure that you have no room monitors that are falling asleep. We have also briefed this year's room monitors that if you are feeling tired or anything, to make sure that you take care of yourself, take a break, get a hall runner to fill in your position. But room monitors, we cannot see room monitors sleeping in class. I've spotted a few last year. So make sure that we all work together as a team and the whole team is vibrant and awake. So floor managers and hall runners have to also be aware of this in their team. Be checking into the rooms regularly, into their section, making sure things are all stocked up, everything's looking good. Hall runners, especially on the first day, if you're on level 2, to check the signages to make sure the names and everything are correct. So just a recap on room monitor position, their main duties, we call them room managers now. They manage the doors. That's their number one priority because managing the badges is really important, especially this year where a lot of the classes, we have very, very big classes. Room managers are expected to arrive early to check on the setup and equipment and assist the faculty. If there is some setup issues, they are the ones to wave down hall runners to address the issues because they cannot leave their position. This should be prevented because room managers are expected to arrive in their position early to check all the setup and make sure everything is good before they open the doors and manage the badges. Room managers, they are responsible for the in and out entry. They are responsible for all safety that goes on in the room. So it's important for them to be looking out and being aware of everything that happens. If, let's say, there's people doing handstands near the corner of a stage, they should be spotting that and being able to direct and move people away from things that do not look safe and look out for common sense. Cleanliness in the rooms is also something room managers need to look out for. Hall runners, you are responsible for your area cleanliness and making sure like program books are always stocked up and set up on the first day. Probably when the classes start, we will need help for the setup, such as the bean bags and everything. Room managers need to be aware of what's going on at all times. As again, hall runners, this your main 3 support is you are a support to the room managers and the floor supervisors. You guys are almost plug-in positions. So you guys have a very important role because you guys are experienced. So you guys are able to also view, like I said, you guys are almost assistant floor managers, but you guys are more flexible to be able to plug into some positions. So even if a floor manager needs to be taken away on a briefing or anything, then whoever is up that they assign is the floor manager is the next step in line to make sure to manage and oversee the whole area that you're responsible for. So hall runners are mainly a support to room managers and floor supervisors. They also direct lineups, and yes, they will help set up the lineups and line them up. So there's like a good flow and clearance in the hallways and in the spaces. They will be setting up and helping queue people in the standby lineups. If they see there's a big congestion to help sort that out. They are also this year really to help guide and support participants, answer any inquiries. Floor managers, you are in much more higher leadership positions and you take much more responsibility. So everything, and even if there's setup missing, anything that happens in your area is your responsibility. You need to be able to connect with your team, know their positions, know setups and event happenings, but really ensure that you don't get caught up in doing room monitor duties or taking away opportunity for your team to do their duties, because that's not an effective floor manager. So making sure that you have the ability to work people working in a not so much at a directive state, but also be very supportive to your team versus being super directive. So work really close with your hall runners for this. Ensure the flow logistics of the areas. You guys oversee your staff, staffing positions, and everything. You look ahead to anticipate changes, transitions, or setups of anything. Address any issues. If there's any issues that's related to faculty or that's out of hand, that's more difficult, this needs to come to me, especially guest badge issues, but floor managers need to take note of all things that happen and also feedback from the area, because every AM and PM session we will be having a meeting and having a quick debrief with all the management team of how the morning session run and also how the afternoon session run. Please look out for health and safety and regulations, and also enforcing the policies of the no badge entry. Last year, we heard there's a lot of feedback of guest badge passes being standby pass people barging into the rooms. Room monitors uh, did not ensure the policies of this. And then you get participants that would be complaining, oh, level 2 let me in. How come you guys won't let me in? So it becomes very messy. So we all have to all play on the same team to enforce the policies. And again, it's a kind reminder. We keep reminding participants over and over and over again. Front desk, I will not go through too much. That's not whoever's on front desk. We'll only have a few people that are the main ones that will run it, but they run the coat check, yoga mat rental, and lost and found, and the pickups. I won't be going through that. Just recall that this year, Mandarin speakers will have a green sticker on their badge. First aid experience will have a red. Also, just a reminder, all white badges have full access. Blue badges all have standby access as like staff. Orange is no access at all. So please remember this. Make sure to also have staff check that all badges have a company chop. All the blue badge guests, we've already informed them to photocopy a piece of their ID at the back. There are some blue badges, remember, from the exhibitors that have a company name that don't have photo ID, so those ones don't need the photo ID in there. Obviously, if you see a company name, there won't be a photo to that, so that's not needed. So just recall, any of the open badge passes are the handwritten passes. If you guys come across that, those are valid. Those are normally if there's registration issues. They will write a pass for them to come up while they resolve their issues, and they go back to registration desk after. Remember, single class tickets, if you receive those, all staff have to rip them up. Remember also, press that will be taking photos will have a bright yellow sticker on their badge. We will also inform which classes have press in them. So just remember as well, the lectures in Theater 1 and 2, we have a little bit more flexibility. We have a little bit more flexibility in managing the lateness, and also we let people swap around the lectures if they have a 4-day lecture passes if they're not registered for the session. So those are what the standby badges look like. No access is the orange ones. So setup and equipment, again this year, the default setting is going to be iPod jacks. There's for music. This year, just be aware because of the new iPods and iPads and everything. We're not sure. HKCC has informed us that the iPod jacks are for the old iPods and the phones. If they need new ones, we do have some stock in the staff room. So just be aware of that. So these 3 default settings are all from HKCC. Please ensure that your staff do not take them away or break them. Last year we had some damages to some of the wireless headphones, and it costed us about $5,000 for one. So please make sure that this is the default setting that's available in all the classes. As well, the default setting that we are adding to all the classes is we're going to be bringing up a yoga mat, and we will be map that up stage area. Please ensure, again, to have the staff leave all the equipment in the room that's HKCC. Setup schedule, we won't go through this much. You guys understand how to read that. The parts in red are the ones that we bring from downstairs, the AYC room. So let's go through some of the common scenarios. Make sure leaving the room without a badge is a policy we must enforce. Be nice about it. The main thing is being consistent, because we have a very, 50% of our participants are new this year, and it's important that we be really friendly. We keep reminding them, and also remember that about the ones in the big rooms, if you see someone going to the washroom, last year I started to see room monitors let people go to the washroom without the badge. It needs to be enforced, so make sure all your room monitors are enforcing this policy so people remember, but do it in a nice way. Photo taken in class, I would say do your best to keep reminding and enforcing this, but we don't have control of this. I know there is a lot, but room monitors are briefed that they need to use common sense to see that when they are taking photos and nobody else is and there's a disturbance to the class, that is when you have to remind and stop them, but do not cause a scene of anything. Either pull them aside later or please remind them. But there's, at some point, the photo taking is not something that we can completely control and needs to be expected. Latecomers, depending if the faculty is very strict about that. Normally, we do not let them in if they're late. This year, because we have quite a bit of full classes, so it's really important that we look out for this. Normally, we are use your common sense in that. If they can still go into class with least disturbance, if they're not like over half an hour late, then we can still let them in, but make sure to have them with the least disturbance of that. Faculty, if a faculty brings someone in their class that's not their assistant, of course we always just remind them, but if there's issues of that, please bring that up to the conference manager, which is me. Technical problems should not be resolved by room managers. They should be informing either the hall runner or the floor managers should actually be addressing this. Remember, there's the aircon issue, so please have the floor manager communicate that with the hall runners. The other thing that we will go through is, we don't have to go through this. Checking in, please, managers and hall runners, do not be late. As you guys are taking on a leadership position, as your next level, it's important that you guys are a good role model. If there's managers or hall runners that are expected to be late because you guys hold much more important positions, please make sure you inform us ahead of time so we can do like a scheduling prior and not that we find out on the day when we do the briefing. Managers should also arrive a little bit earlier to attend a manager's briefing we will have that will be very brief. Daily staff briefing will be the same time, 7:15, 1:15. Floor managers, if you can arrive 15 minutes early, we will have a quick debrief. A quick briefing session. Daily debriefing floor managers, management session. So this is a new session we're adding this year. So at 11 a.m., all the management of one of the key teams, we will be having a debrief of the conference behind the registration counters at 11 o'clock for the a.m. positions, and p.m. will be 6 p.m. And that's about it. We will cover more in the on-site briefing. So I'm going to keep this short. So really, for this weekend, I just wanted to really honor and thank all of you for just returning. You guys are the core reason why I still hold on to this event. And I hope that for you guys that you guys set your intentions clear of what it is that you want to get out of the experience this weekend. If it's something that you want to grow or you're working on, whether you're working on compassion or trust or everything that is, set your intentions clear as the lessons will show up. And together we play as a team and we want to make this an enriching experience versus just a volunteer experience. So do let us know if there's anything that we can support you with. Aside from that, I will see you guys on site.